First, smash and grab, the inside story of Australia's notorious jewel gangs, armed and dangerous, terrorising shop workers and taking off with watches, jewellery and precious stones worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Tonight, store owners are on tenterhooks, fearing lives could be lost.
These are a bunch of guys that are running mad. At the time it's happening, you are thinking that you might get killed.
There's two more. They've got a gun.
These incidents have a significant impact on the community, on victims, on employees and owners of businesses.
They're armed to the teeth.
They come in with machetes.
And out of control.
Gun, axes or hammers, and they smash through the glass.
The young thugs targeting jewellery stores.
It must have been extremely frightening for the employees in the shop and for the wider community that actually saw that.
It's being called a crime crisis, and it's the community paying the price.
This is the most lawless society I've ever seen.
When on earth will it end?
These are very dangerous boys.
And is there more to these brazen diamond raids than meets the eye? Are there faceless men pulling the strings? And if so, why? Victoria Police Assistant Commissioner Rick Nugent.
What's your response to the reports that organised crime figures might be the masterminds behind these raids?
So with any of these investigations, we examine those types of issues and whether or not that exists. So absolutely, it is a key element of the investigation that we look at.
There have been many jewellery heists in recent months, and police have told the media they may well be linked. Tonight, we'll focus on 5 of those smash and grabs which have caused extensive damage and financial loss, as well as devastated and terrorised locals and workers.
They have no concern about the safety of others.
The spree began last year in Coburg in Melbourne's north in July. 3 masked men smashed their way into a jewellery store, but were overcome by dozens of bystanders.
While they're wrestling him down, they punched me. He had an axe and hit me with the axe.
Chairs and tables went flying as the crowd tried to restrain the young crooks. They managed to hold 2 of them until police arrived. The third was able to escape with up to $100,000 of gold jewellery. 3 months later, in the city's east, a Toorak store was raided. The jeweller, Stephen, showed incredible bravery, standing up to an armed bandit who was holding a gun to his head.
Basically stared them down and said, just get out of my shop.
The thugs were also armed with a machete and a baseball bat. They smashed glass counters and escaped with jewels valued at more than $200,000, fleeing in a getaway car.
It's come in, smash up, intimidate the owners, do as much damage as they can to the cabinets, grab what they can and out very quickly.
Tony Fiolides is the co-owner of this store. He wasn't there for this particular incident, but he's been counting the cost ever since.
Every time a store gets robbed, there's no amount of insurance that can protect you because you can't help but close the shop down and you've got to reassess, you've got to stock take and you've got to build up stock.
Earlier this month, a jeweller's in Elstonwick in Melbourne South was attacked. 3 intruders used a machete and a gun to terrorise workers and bystanders before making off with $150,000 worth of jewellery.
Males described as Sudanese in appearance, covered in their face.
Last week, a store was targeted in Canterbury. 2 teenagers have been arrested and charged over that smash and grab. And on Saturday, the Toorak Jewellers was targeted again. The intruders still violent and armed, but this time they're not even bothering hiding their identities.
He's got his face exposed. He obviously doesn't care. They're willing to show their face because nothing's happening to them when they're caught.
The 4 men fled with jewellery in a waiting getaway car. Police started pursuing them but called it off after just 8 kilometres, deeming it unsafe.
I've been trying to work out how police can chase a car from Toorak to Punt Road and then lose it. I would have thought that maybe they could have radioed ahead between Punt Road and Toorak Road in Collingwood, that there might have been another police car somewhere that may have been able to join in the pursuit. Okay, well,
Tony has criticised the justice system for giving young criminals a second chance just because of their age.
The court has got a revolving door policy: in, out, re-offend, in, and nothing from the government saying what they're going to do with these boys.
Detectives are also investigating whether organised crime figures are behind the robberies, sending teenagers in to do their dirty work. Herald Sun crime writer Andrew Rule.
It would appear, some say, that the attraction for older criminals to encourage young criminals to do these robberies is that they won't attract such big jail sentences because they're underage. But of course they're just as strong and just as violent and probably less predictable than older people.
If they're using the actual jewels or melting the metals, you would expect someone to be behind it who'd be in a position to do that.
Roland Legg is the former team leader of the Victoria Police Homicide Squad. He says offenders are getting off too lightly if they are eventually arrested.
I can't remember someone receiving the maximum penalty. And some of these jewellery store attacks, there seems to be no fear in them being caught.
Police are trying to get on the front foot. They'll hold crisis talks about the spate of jewel raids next week.
Have you ever seen anything like this before?
Whilst we've seen an increase in these types of offences, we're seeing far more people apprehended for them as well and being brought before the court.
It's the courts that need to step up. Victoria Police have established a new task force. They're going to deal with the recent spate of jewellery store robberies.